I'm an idiot. I just did a 17-minute video and I fucking lost it. I'm going to be more careful this time, and this one won't be 17 minutes because I've already talked about the whole thing and I can kind of repeat myself. So, Warped Tour, Dickies, Safe Spaces, Safer Scenes is a group created by the singer from War on Women, a band that is on the Warped Tour right now. So when we left off, we thought it was, just somebody in the crowd coming in with a sign protesting the Dickies, calling them disgusting old men. Why ageism is an acceptable ism is beyond me. You're all going to be old one day unless you die before then. And I got news for you, because I've been there. Because I used to be young. We all did. You're going to have a whole generation of people. They're not going to understand you. They're not going to care what you've seen. They're going to call you old and irrelevant. So, Shauna Potter, that's something you ought to think about, because you're a bigot. You're against old people. And you have no hesitation whatsoever in expressing that bigotry. I'm against it, and I think we should all be against it. And frankly, I think people should be protesting your shows. War on Women. War on Women? Try War on Old People. Wow, man, that is some ugly stuff. Time to check your privilege, young lady. So Kevin Lyman went out, Warped Tour guy. Kevin Lyman's a fascinating guy. He ought to go into politics. I've been asking him questions over and over. Kevin's known for his transparency in terms of he will answer people on Twitter who criticize him, ask him questions and stuff. But that's not transparent. It's not transparent if you offer up a 140-character answer that doesn't remotely address the question. So you can ask Kevin questions all day long. He's not going to answer them. And he's going to give the impression that he did, but he's not actually going to address anything you said. And there are people out there, unfortunately, who are dumb enough to kind of pat him on the back and say, good for you for answering people. It's not answering people if you refuse to address the question. So I've asked him over and over why in the hell anybody was let in with a sign to protest this ban. Well, it turns out he puts out a statement clarifying things, and the main thing is he says it wasn't a fan, it was somebody on the tour. It was somebody working on the tour. And I thought, this idiot thinks this makes him look better. Isn't that far worse? And somebody popped up and said, well, why do you care? I thought you were for free speech. I am for free speech, and if Kevin Lyman wants to create a tour environment where anybody on the tour is allowed to publicly protest anybody else on the tour, particularly during their set, God love him, let him do it. You're going to be out of business in about three days, but go ahead, go for it. But see, that's not his policy. Some people get free speech, some people don't. I'd very much like to see what would happen if somebody from the Dickies went to the War on Women set with a sign that said cunt. Okay, because I think they'd be kicked out in about 2 fucking seconds. Well, it turns out this organization that Shauna Potter from War on Women started, Safer Spaces, okay, it was somebody from that organization. I found out. Guess what, Kevin Lyman? Guess what, Shauna Potter? I fucking know people on that tour, and they don't fucking like you, and they don't like your political bullshit. And they're ratting you the fuck out. I haven't gotten the name yet, but that's coming next. And I'm going to post it on Twitter. If you two have 2 brain cells between you to rub together, which is extremely doubtful at this point, I highly suggest you just fucking offer up the name. If she's big enough and strong enough and tough enough to go protest the big bad Dickies, then she's big enough and strong enough and tough enough to deal with the fucking backlash. Okay? So I'm going, Jesus, Kevin, you're out of your fucking mind. I says, this is your policy? That you allow people on your tour to go do this, to go protest other bands? He hasn't responded to it yet, and he's not going to, okay? But this is very interesting. He's had problems on his tour. He ran it like the fucking Wild West for most of its existence, and you had people, I have friends, again, who have been on that tour who would tell me about the fucking heroin overdoses backstage, about people passing around drunk underage girls like a bottle of booze, quote from a friend of mine, okay? There's a lot of disgusting shit going on back there. If Kevin Lyman wanted to fucking deal with it, if he wanted it over, it would take 1 staff meeting. 1. And you know what he'd say? You see anything like that, call the fucking cops. End of story. End of story. It's all over. But he won't do that. Because Kevin's a politician. Okay? You start bringing the cops in, now people are going to get pissed, now people are going to turn against you. Instead, you bring in some completely unqualified cuckoo bird who's looking for power, and you say, oh yeah, you've got an organization, we'll bring you in. Okay? Because it looks good. That's it. They want power. He wants to look like a good guy who's doing something about the problem. So, safer spaces, what are they about? Well, as far as I can tell, they have a tent at Warped, they give away stickers, and they raise fucking money. What a shock! Some bullshit fucking organization out there raising money. Last I checked, they were almost at $10,000 on GoFundMe. Zero transparency, zero accountability. Where do you think that money's going? Cash on the barrelhead, right in their fucking pockets. That's where. It's always about the money, it's always about the power, it always has been, it always will be. They call people like me old, but the good thing about being my age is I've been around and I've seen this fucking racket for decades, man. I saw it back in the 80s when the fucking nut jobs were trying to get us to spell women with a Y, okay? And there is always, every single time, money and power behind it. That's all these fucking people are about. And Kevin Lyman, you know damn well, I know damn well, if somebody pulled that on War on Women, you'd have them kicked right the fuck off the tour. You'd send them packing. We all know it, pal. So I'm looking at this, and I'm like, now this is all bad enough, but I'm looking at this article she wrote, Vice.com, noisy. Because remember, she doesn't have power. Guys like me have all the power. I'm here on Facebook Live. She's on fucking Vice.com, but she doesn't have any power. She doesn't have any voice. And she's ranting and raving about angry men, a lot of ageism, like I said, so much fucking ageism. It's really, really unacceptable. Calling these types of men, like the Dickies, racists, and you know how it is. Once the isms start, they don't stop. You can't just call somebody a sexist. They've got to be a sexist, a racist, and a homophobe. It's always the trifecta. And in 2017, gang, you don't need any evidence. You don't need any evidence. The assertion is the evidence. Okay? It's just like calling the cops on sexual predators. What fucking fun is that? What fun is that? You don't get to fuck with people. You don't get to fuck with people who aren't sexual predators. You don't get to fuck with people just because you don't like what they say. And that's a big part of this. It's easy to deal with sexual predators on a tour like that. Like I said, Kevin Lyman could deal, if he had wanted to, all those years he allowed that shit to go on under his fucking nose, and don't think for a second he didn't know it. He could have dealt with it. He aided and abetted in the sexual assault of God knows how many women over the years. Okay? So this fucking hero, you've got to be kidding me. He could have put a stop to it. Okay? It's all about playing politics because it's all about power and it's all about money. Here's the thing that scared the shit out of me. I've seen it a million times before, but I've never seen a situation where somebody had the power to get away with it. Okay, I've seen people try to pull this shit, but they're pulling it on small-time bands and in small little clubs or basements where, it doesn't fucking matter anyway. This is happening on the Warped Tour, okay? I'm going to read this to you. This comes from Shauna Potter's article, Vice.com, noisy.vice.com, okay? Bear with me. Here we go. She says she hopes that the Dickies are not booked for any future Warp dates. She knew damn well they weren't. The silver lining in all this? Pay attention, gang. At a group meeting to discuss what transpired. She never admits, by the way, it was somebody from her group who was doing the protesting. You fucking liar. You're trying to protect her now, aren't you? You send her out to do your dirty work, and then you try to fucking protect her. It's not going to happen, Cupcake. Promise you. The silver lining in all this, at a group meeting to discuss what transpired, we came up with a proactive, this is like fucking corporate newspeak, man, proactive, preventative solution. Wow. With Warped Tour. So in conjunction with Warped Tour, they came up with a proactive, preventative solution. What are they going to do? To start training band members in bystander intervention while on this tour. They're going to train people. They used to call that re-education. They're going to train you, band members. That's what you signed up for with Warped Tour. Okay? You're going to be trained. And Kevin Lyman says, I asked him, hey, is this compulsory? Oh, no. This is just listed on the day sheet. Okay, for those of you who don't know, when you do a show, there's a day sheet posted sometimes in several spots backstage. It gives you the set times, load-in times, sound check times if there are. I don't think they sound check on this tour. And in the case of Warped Tour, they do everything from AA meetings. I've heard they do Bible study meetings. Those apparently take place between the ODs and the episodes of Passing Around Teenage Girls Like a Bottle of Booze. And this is just being added. So imagine being on that tour. You're out on that tour. It's just one thing added, retraining. Now, what do you think is going to happen to you if you don't go? What do you think is going to happen to you if you blow it off? What do you think is going to happen to you if somebody brings it up to you and say, it's fucking bullshit. I'm not interested. You think it's going to be the same thing as if somebody said, hey, why aren't you in AA? Because I like drinking. I think it's bullshit, right? Nothing's going to happen. What do you think is going to happen there? I got news for you. She says in this article, early in this article, that she was hoping for, I want to read it. I don't want to misquote her, okay? I want to read this. It says, I'm telling my kids not to come in here. They just got home from the beach. It says, again, bear with me. I was hopeful that nothing so threatening would happen as the Dickies thing. She was threatened by this, okay? And that I would have a boring, happy summer with nothing to write about. Who do you fucking think you're kidding? You weren't hoping for... Who goes out on tour for the summer? Gee, I hope I have a boring time. I mean, it's just such abject bullshit. She was looking for an incident like the Dickies, but the Dickies are small potatoes. This thing's already pretty much blown over. I'm telling you right now, bands on Warped Tour, if you think you're not being targeted, you're out of your fucking mind. This tour will not end. Read my lips like George Bush. I am fucking telling you, this tour is not going to end without an explosion. Okay? Somebody's gonna get it. It's probably, because it usually ends up, it's probably going to be somebody who doesn't deserve it. It's probably going to be somebody who's done nothing. But this, they're going to continue to provoke. They're going to continue to poke. They're going to continue to protest. They're going to continue backstage, because I guarantee you they've already started it, to pressure people into going to those meetings. Oh, it's not compulsory. You don't have to. It's not mandatory. They'll make sure to say that. But they'll put the fucking pressure on. And whoever doesn't play ball, you're fucked. And I got to tell you right now, if you bands that are out on that tour don't speak up now against this insane fucking shit, this is like something out of the Soviet Union. If you don't speak up against it now, don't fucking come crying to your fans. Don't come crying to us when it blows up in your fucking face and you're crucified and your career's over. Okay, I don't care if you're Power Bottom or the Dickies or whoever else we decided we were going to destroy their career today. I said it many times today. I said it yesterday, and I'm going to keep saying it. It's about power, and it's about fucking money, okay? This Shauna Potter, she's a fucking female Elmer Gantry is what she is. She's a fucking scam artist. She's running a scam right there, and she's doing it in collusion with Kevin Lyman, because Kevin Lyman knows it's a lot easier to do this and look good than to actually address the problem head on and call the fucking cops on the sexual predators in the bands that you allow on the Warped Tour and that you profit from, okay? He built a fucking empire on these bands. And he's not the guy who should be deciding who polices it. I'll tell you that right now. So this is what's going on. You always just got to follow the money. Really, when it comes down to it, you always, if you ever want to know what's going on, just look at the money. $10,000. No accountability. Not even a promise of accountability. No transparency. Not even a promise of transparency. It's a scam, gang. I've seen it a million times before. Anybody who's lived enough to be old and disgusting like me has seen it many times before. Don't say I didn't tell you so.